Bangladesh produce a comeback for the ages. Shakib Mahmudullah and Mahmudullah put on a sublime 224-run partnership as the Tigers recover from 33 for 4 to chase down 266 against New Zealand, keeping their semi-final hopes alive. And it's do or die for the Aussies today. The reigning world champions take on their biggest foes, England, in the final match of Group A, where anything but a victory will knock Australia out of the tournament. Hello and welcome to Kings of Cricket here on CNN News 18. The business end of the group stage is here. At the end of today, we will have our two semi-finalists from Pool A. Bangladesh have kept themselves in the hunt to join England in the Final Four, but all their efforts will have been in vain if the Aussies can down the hosts at Edgbaston today. A mouth-watering prospect awaits, and to build up to it, I'm joined by former India captain Krishnamachari Srikanth and cricket analyst Ayaz Memon here in our studios in New Delhi. But gentlemen, before we get to that game, let's just quickly take our viewers through what happened last night, because it was a stunning result. Shakib Mahmudullah and Mahmudullah putting together Bangladesh's highest ever ODI partnership as the Tigers roared to a 5-wicket win against New Zealand, in the process knocking the Kiwis out of the tournament. Playing at the venue of one of their most memorable wins that came against Australia in 2005, Bangladesh restricted New Zealand to just 265 after losing the toss. 50s from Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor had set the Kiwis up for a much bigger score, but Mosaddaq Hossain's 3 quick-fire wickets meant that Bangladesh conceded just 62 runs in the last 10 overs to pull things back. The Tigers, though, were in all sorts of trouble in their chase as New Zealand's quicks reduced them to 33 for 4. But Shakib Mahmudullah and Mahmudullah combined for a 224-run partnership that came of just 209 deliveries, taking Bangladesh to the target with 16 balls to spare.
To be honest, that time is very difficult. I don't, but when once they goes to 100, I mean, not the partnership, wants to go to 100. To be honest, I start believe, because I knew that wicket these two can make difference, and they did it a lot of times. But I never thought that they will go like 200, more than 200 partnership. That was phenomenal.
Thought closer to 300 would have been a much better total, one that was achievable. Certainly the position we were in, but it wasn't to be. And in the past we have defended totals like that on those sorts of surfaces. And we were in a pretty good position to do it again. But what a fantastic partnership. Two very talented players, very experienced players, and it came together today. And to get a 200-plus partnership under pressure was simply superb, but frustrating to be on the other side of it.
Chika, Kane Williamson really sums it up there, doesn't he? To get a 200-run partnership is great, but to be able to do that in a knockout match with your side 33 for 4 and chasing 266, which at that point would have seemed like a mountain to climb. All credit to Shakib Mahmudullah and Mahmudullah.
Yeah, that's right. I think Shakib Mahmudullah and Mahmudullah have done it brilliantly, and I think these two guys are one of the most experienced men in the Bangladesh team. They've done it quite a few times in the past. Mahmudullah especially has played some extraordinary innings in the past. And the same thing happened against India when Kushal Perera and Gunatilaka did it. A huge partnership that changed the course of the game. So one good partnership in the middle can always change the course of the game. But in all fairness, I think New Zealand is too Kane Williamson-centric. I think the problem is they're too Kane Williamson-centric in my opinion.
And we saw that again while New Zealand were batting, didn't we? This is the third game in a row where once that Kane Williamson and Ross Taylor partnership was broken, their batsmen seemed to fall away. They did a better job this time around, but still not nearly enough.
Not really. I think they fell short by about 30-40 runs. They should have been closer to 300 than 250.
Yeah.
And I think they've been let down by the all-rounders, Corey Anderson, Neesham, and the others, because the top order has worked. Williamson is amongst the most consistent batsmen in this tournament. I think, but having said all that, Rahul, this was an extraordinary match. This was an extraordinary partnership, extraordinary result, adding to what is now becoming an extraordinary tournament.
Yeah.
Because the three less fancied teams are now in the running for a place in the semis. New Zealand, amongst the fancied teams before the tournament started, is out. Only one of Australia can either make the cut if they beat England.
Yeah.
And only one from South Africa and India can go through. So Bangladesh, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, with the kind of victories that they've notched up over the past 3 days, and Bangladesh's was the most remarkable. Chika might remember it in some way, in a minor way. It reminded me of India's match against Zimbabwe in 1983. We were 17 for 5. Of course, Kapil Dev played a lone hand, 175 not out. Here you had two centurions, but in a very similar pattern when everybody gave up hope. And of course, India batted first, then here Bangladesh was chasing. But what a terrific match.
And Chika, it seemed to turn when Mosaddaq Hossain came on to bowl, didn't it? Because he was only introduced in the 42nd over. He bowled 3 overs, got 3 wickets, including Corey Anderson and the well-set Neil Broom at the time. And from there, New Zealand, just seemed to fall away as far as their batting innings was concerned.
Yeah, that goes to show that when you start taking wickets down the order, I think you can restrict the opposition score. That's what happens. You see the trend of the entire Champions Trophy. Those who've been taking wickets will always be in the upper hand. I think England has been taking wickets. That's why they're winning matches. Even against New Zealand, England bowled well and took those wickets. Same thing happened. Bangladesh started bowling well in the late half, and that's why they did well.
Okay. The highest partnership, that one was 224 as far as Bangladesh are concerned, eclipsing the 178 that Tamim Iqbal and Mushfiqur Rahim had put on against Pakistan in 2015. A sublime performance that keeps Bangladesh in the hunt. And we keep saying that, but let's now turn our attention to today's match. And it's a must-win tie for Australia as they take on England and look set to become the second team to make their way into the semi-finals. Bangladesh's win yesterday has seen them move ahead of the Aussies in the standings by a point, and any other result except a win, and that includes a washout, could see the reigning world champions exit the tournament. Australia have seen both their group matches being abandoned due to rain and will now be hoping to play finally a match under clear skies. England meanwhile have already qualified for the final 4 with back-to-back wins against Bangladesh and the Kiwis. Okay, so we are hearing that England have won the toss and have elected to bowl first in this match. Both sides are unchanged from the previous match. Some speculation about perhaps Chris Lynn making his way into the team. But Australia's batsmen, only 4 or 5 of them have even had a run out. And difficult to chop and change if you haven't played a full game, isn't it, Ayaz?
Oh, absolutely. And frankly, they've been the worst hit by rain. They've been unlucky in the sense they should have surely beaten Bangladesh when that match was rained off. It was just a matter of 4 overs. So I don't think that there was a problem with the team, but there was a problem with their luck.
Yeah.
And they'll be hoping that their luck, at least in this match, holds, because England are not the England of 2015. I think that's the first thing we must all understand.
Yeah.
2015 in the World Cup, they lost to Bangladesh. And after that, they've been a team which has revamped, revitalized. It thinks differently, the mindset has changed, the players have changed, and it's a formidable opponent.
And we're just looking at that graphic, 3 matches at Edgbaston so far, Chika. All of them have been in one way or another been affected by rain. But do you think that's had a telling on the toss? Because it does not appear so. As far as England are concerned, they have chosen to bowl first. Do you think that's the right decision?
I think it is the right decision because it's all overcast conditions there. I think what England has done is the right thing because don't forget that England from 2015 to 2017 have scored more than 300 runs and more than about 78 matches of the 20-odd matches. That goes to show that they have the confidence in the batting. And don't forget, it's all overcast conditions and they might get, they're expecting some rains probably later in the evening, so they'll know what to do, how to plan, if at all is a deal method. So I think it's a good toss to win for England, and I think rightly so. I think Eoin Morgan has elected to field.
Okay. Gentlemen, there's an interesting stat that I want to point out here. And we talk about England, we talk about the consistency of Joe Root at number 3. He's already scored a century and a 50 in the Champions Trophy. But here are his numbers against Australia. And this is very, very interesting because he's played 12 innings and he averages just 16. And this is the only opponent against which Joe Root has so far struggled. He'll be intent to sort of correct this anomaly, wouldn't he, Ayaz?
Oh yes, I mean look, he's their premier batsman, he's the fulcrum in this team. I mean, there are lots of stroke players around him, but he's really the sheet anchor, and therefore he's perhaps the most vital cog in the team. And if you get him cheaply, then you fancy your chances against England, because the other batsmen will take more risks. That's the way they play the game. So it's an anomaly, but it could also mean, at least in this format, the nerve